Hey dearies, and welcome back to the channel once again. It's been a while, and so today we're going to be making a gypsy pant. I'm excited that you're going to be making this gypsy pants with me. So if you're excited, let's delve right into this video. But before we go on, I'll indulge you to please hit the subscribe button, share this video, and also hit the like button. Now let's delve right into this. Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel once again. Today we're going to be making this beautiful Caribbean or gypsy trouser pants as we all know it. Okay, so right here I have a piece of pattern paper. Alright, and the first thing I want to do is to have a start point before cutting. Okay, I have a tutorial on the making of a trouser on my channel, so you can check that out as well, but I'm going to be using a slightly different method on this, though this is going to be shorter because the gypsy what's it called, the Caribbean effect starts up about 3 inches below the crotch line, okay, or the hip line rather. So just join me and then you get to understand what I'm saying. So guys, if you're seeing me for the first time or you're watching my video for the first time, you're absolutely welcome. You're actually right in the right place. You're welcome. Kindly hit the subscribe button. I welcome you all to my YouTube community. This is Rex channel. Here we share a lot of beautiful videos, very easy to comprehend. So just take a minute and then hit on the subscribe button and then come back to watch this video. So guys, let's continue. We'll go ahead to make a start point. Okay, this is just random, like just a start point from anywhere. Okay, now usually I like to have about 1 inch before I start taking my measurements for my trouser. In the course of this video, I'm going to tell you the reason why. Okay, so I'll just do that quickly and then we'll start up with our measurements taken. It's about 1 inch. Okay, so this is what we have right now. So the measurements you need for this tutorial is the waist, the round waist measurement, the round hip measurement, the round thigh measurement, the crotch depth, and then the length of the trouser. Okay, this trouser is going to have its zip at the back. All right, now the waist to our crotch line is about 10 inches. Okay, now this measurement is taken from the waist where you want your trouser to, where you place your trouser on your waist. Okay, from that waist to about the hip line, exactly where you have the joining in between your legs, the middle parts in between your legs. That's, I don't know how else to explain that. Or you can also take this measurement, the full length of the measurement, and then the inner part of your leg measurements. How else do I have to do this to make this easier? Or your client, you can ask your client to sit down and then take from the hip to about where her buttocks touches the seat. That is also how to take your crotch depth measurement. Okay, all right, so moving on, we'll take that, which is 10 inches. All right, I'm going to just mark that out. Then also we need our hip line measurement. That is from your waist, that's the part where you take from your waist to about the hip line. Okay, now you can actually get this using your what's it called, your hip measurement divided by 4. Okay, your hip measurement divided by 4, I'll be using that instead of using I'll use that as my hip line. All right, so my hip is 46 inches divided by 4 gives me 11.5 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 11.5 inches. 11.5 inches. If this person is on the big side, you might want to add about 1 inch to this, but just the size 14 or size 16, however way. I don't like to be called big. So I'll just leave it at that. But if the person is on the big side, you might want to just add about ½ inch to 3/4 inches. That way, just to give the person much ease. Alright, you don't want the clothes tensioning around the hip line area. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is take the length of the trouser. Now, like I said, it's going to be about 3 inches below this line. If you look at that picture closely, so I'm just going to take 3 inches this way and 3 inches this way, and then I'm going to bring that up. Okay, all right, so this is what we have for now. Now moving on to our hip line, which is here 11.5 rather. We're going to make 11.5 like a box. Now look at what I'm doing on this part. I'm just going to make it 11.5 on this line. Remember, this is actually our hip line, which I used a hip divided by 4. Okay, I'm marking that right here. All right, that's what I'm doing. Now I'm taking that up also 11.5 this way.
after marking that right here, if this were to be a long trouser also, probably to the knee or to the ankle length, I usually like to have this measurement straight down. Now I'll tell you the reason why. This is actually our hem of the trouser, so I'm going to be marking that same 11 and a half right there. Now we're going to get the midpoint of this 11 and a half, just so this helps us to get our grain line. All right, now the grain line helps us to align and centralize every one of our measurements on this trouser, so our trouser measurements will not be all to one on the left or all to the right. Okay, I hope we got that. So I'll just quickly go ahead to do that. Now 11 and a half is about 5 3/4. All right, so we're going to mark 5 3/4 here. That's just to get the midpoint of this. All right, if you do not understand what I'm saying, simply look at what I am doing, that way we'll get it. Okay, now this is actually our grain line. This is our grain line right here. So the next thing we want to do right now, I'm going to extend this crotch depth line to the end. All right, so that's fine. Now at this point we want to impute our waist, our hip measurements, and our thigh, and every other measurement that we need to have. Okay, now for the waist measurement, the reason why we needed this is just to centralize our waist measurement. So for this tutorial, the waist measurement we're using is 34. So 34 divided by 4 is 8.5. Now we're going to be marking our 8.5 inches right here, and we're going to divide 8.5 inches and mark half on both and on each side of this line. Now we have 8.5, so automatically we have 4 1/4 inches on this side and 4 1/4 inches on this side. So I'm going to quickly do that. Okay, this is 4 1/4 inches, and on this point here we have our 8.5. Okay, that's what we have. Before we go about that, we're going to have to mark this. I'm joining these lines. Just before we do that, I'm joining this 11.5 inches line to the crotch line, and then also to the hip line right there, just so that I can get my curve right there. So the next thing I want to do is just to match this up to the crotch line, to the depth line, the crotch depth line rather, this way, and then this to this point right here. That way we won't have any sort of bulges around that point or whatsoever. So we'll be moving on to this hip line, the 11.5 inches line. Remember, the way I got my hip line was my hip divided by 4. Okay, and I told you that if the person is on a very big side, please add up like ½ inch or 3/4 inches, depends on the size of the person. And the person just okay, like a size 12 or 10 there, but just leave the measurements as it is. Okay, so on this line we're going to be placing our thigh measurement, the thigh measurement, and we were working with thigh measurement 28 inches. So we're going to be dividing 28 by 2 to get our thigh measurement, and 28 divided by 2 gives us 14. So we're going to be marking 14 from this line right here, and then we're going to mark it right here. I'm just going to extend that quickly. Okay, now this is all that we have. So at this point right here, we just want to make a curve. You can make use of your free hand, or you can use a curve rule if you have any. All right, just to make a curve right there, and then you're done with that. So for the for the hem of this trouser, remember it stops halfway, like we get to a point, like I said, 3 inches below the hem. That's what we took. So at this point right here, you want to take a measurement of that part of the trouser. Okay, you want to take the measurement. And for this tutorial, we're working with 27 inches. Okay, we're working with 27 inches or 26.5, but I'm going to be using 27 inches just so I am on the right, on the safe path. All right, so we're going to divide 27 by 2, and then we're going to put it here. That gives us 13.5. So we're just going to, at this point, come out, like go in by about ½ inch or 3/4 inches, ½ inch. Let's go by ½ inch. Okay, and then we're going to mark our 13.5 inches mark right here. So at this point, you want to, we're going to be joining the lines from about this hip line right here. Okay, this way, and then this way. So this is what we have. Good. So to cross check that, I just did my measurement and it's exactly at the 13.5 inches mark. Okay, so this is all that we need for the front um piece, the front block of this trouser. Now the reason why I said I was going to explain to you the reason why I actually left this 1 inch here. Now this 1 inch we're going to be making use of about half or 3/4 inches. Okay, this is so that like it's like a sewing allowance. Okay, once you just have this, I usually do this and it works for me every time. You use this 1/2 inch to sew onto the sides of your trouser, and then the other allowance is going to be on the other side. But for this other side, you're not going to take any allowance at this time. We're going to cut just this part in this manner, and then we're going to just take 1/2 inch away from this, about this point right here, this way, and we're going to cut that out this way. All right, that's for that. Now one more thing, and that's the last thing for this. Okay, we're going to be dropping the waistline by about 1 inch. This helps it to sit perfectly on the waistline. Okay, we're going to be coming down this way about 1 inch. Now we're doing this on the main trouser, the crotch line. Okay, now take a look at this slanted line this way that joins up to the hip line right there. We're taking 1 inch depth. Okay, and then we're just going to make a straight roll this way to the other end of the waist, and that's all. All right, so we're going to cut out this way and then to the hem. You might want to also leave maybe 1/2 inch allowance, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to cut exactly the way it is right now. All right, so for the back piece, it's very easy. You just want to place this on this part right here, and also you want to have an excess up right here because we're going to be raising it up with about 1.5 inches or thereabout. Now it also depends on the size of the client. If the client is on a big side or has a big booty, all right, has big buttocks or big butt, you want to increase that by about 2 inches or thereabout, and as it goes. But for me, I'm going to be making this 1.5 inches height. Okay, it's going to go up by 1.5 inches. Now I also want you to take note that, remember, we took 1 inch off this way. All right, remember we took 1 inch off this way. So if we're measuring from here, we're going to be measuring about, because this is 1 inch already, then plus the 1.5 which we wanted to add, that's about 2.5 inches. All right, so we're measuring that from this place upwards. All right, because I want this to really cover up my butt at the back right there. So I'm just going to be marking 2.5 inches like so. Okay, like so, and then I'm going to draw this up this way. You might want to pin. All right, have your pattern paper pinned. I'll just quickly do that, and then okay, so at this point right here where we have the crotch, what we want to do is to add up about, for this line right here, we're going to be extending it about 2.5 inches. Okay, now like I always say, this totally depends on the size of the client. All right, the client is bigger than hip 46. If it's about 48 to 52, you might want to make this part 3 inches, and then lower part from just 3 inches here, and then everywhere downwards towards the hem or towards the ankle of the trouser should be about 2 inches for the side seam allowance. So on the hem right here, we're going to be making this 2 inches this way. Okay, every other measurement stays the same, so I'm just going to make that line this way. I'm just going to roll that up just to show you all the hem of this way. We're going to also be making this way right there. Okay, now coming down to the okay, remember this is where we took our 2.5 inches measurement right here. Okay, that's why you have this mark right here. So we're going to be extending this line, okay, to about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. Okay, so I'm just extending it about 2 inches this way. All right, okay, so after doing this, whatever measurement you added here, if it's 1.5 or 2 inches, you simply add that to get to the crotch right here. So for this measurement, we took 2 inches, and I'm going to tell you the reason why we took 2 inches. Straight down this way till you get to about the crotch line right here. Then you know you're going to make a curve. So I'm just going to quickly join these lines. Okay, and I'm going to use my free hand to join to make my back crotch line. You can totally make use of your curve rule. I'm so sorry I had to do that. All right, so this is basically all that we need. I'll explain to you why we added this when we are sewing up this trouser, but this is just what we need. So guys, I'm going to be cutting this off and then I'll place it on my fabric and then we start up with the sewing. Okay, I'm back and I've cut them out on my main fabric, on my fabric right here. So this right here is the front piece. Okay, the only thing I added was 1/2 inch at the waistline to add up my, or to make the waistband. That was it. I didn't add any other thing to the hem. That's for the front. And then for the back, I did the same thing, just at the waist right there. Okay, now if you look closely, you find out that our front piece is smaller than the back piece. That's very correct, and we're actually on the right part. Okay, but I also need something on this front piece, which is the grain line. Now this grain line helps us to know the midpoint of our waist right here. Now the excess which we added here, it consists of the seam allowance at the back right there, and also that the front will not have a dart, and this trouser does not have a pocket. Okay, if it were to have a pocket, it's just, I would have added it, but for this it doesn't have it. The front piece will not have a dart. That will only be on the back block. Okay, so what I want to do right now is to just extend this line this way. I'm so sorry, I'm supposed to use my ruler. Okay? Yes, this way. This right here is our grain line. So at this point now, what I'm going to do is also maybe make a tiny notch on the main fabric, just to indicate that that's where the grain line is. Then I'm going to have 1/2 inch on both sides. Remember, we took 2 inches here, so that can be taken off there from about 1 inch to make up our that. Okay, that's why we have this center grain line. It helps us to centralize our measurement, and also it helps us to know where our dart is going to be. So I'm just going to make a tiny notch right here. When I'm sewing, I'm going to know that my dart is going to be 1 inch. That's 1/2 inch on both sides. Then also our dart is going to be about 5 inches in length. Okay, so I'm going to be marking 5 inches from where I have my pattern paper right there. I can make it 5 or 6 inches, but I'm making this 5 inches, about this point right here. Okay, so I'm going to make a tiny notch right here. Okay, now I have that. I'm just going to take away this pattern paper so that I can have access to the fabric, and then I'm going to come down by 5 inches. You can make it 5 inches or 5.5 inches, however way. All right, so my dart is going to stop around this point right here, straight up this way. I'm going to make that visible for us to see. Okay, so it's going to be 1/2 inch on both sides. I don't know if you can see that clearly, but that's 1 inch right there. So I'm just going to hold that, and then I'm going to hold it for each piece. Okay, I'm going to hold that on this piece and on this piece. All right, then I'm going to sew up. Okay, I'll just sew that dart and then I'll come back to show you what it looks like. Okay, I've held the darts. Okay, these are what they look like after holding the darts. I held the darts with about 1/2 inch on each side, and that's for the back piece. All right, I hope you can see that clearly. So at this point right now, what we want to do is to sew it up to our front piece. Okay, so we're going to be sewing front sides facing front sides of our fabric. All right, so this is what we have now. For this piece, I'm going to be joining the sides. Okay, you can see that matches up nicely. Okay, so we're going to sew this side here with 1/2 inch. All right, the tie also, this part also with 1/2 inch. I'm going to do it for both sides. All right, front sides facing front sides this way. This is the front side. All right, so I'm sewing this up all this way to the sides, 1/2 inch on both sides. Okay, and then I'm going to join it up on the other side. So I'm just going to sew these sides, and then I'll get back to you to show you what it looks like and what's next to the sides. All right, this is what it looks like, and take a look at what the back looks like. All right, this is actually the back piece, and this is the front piece. Now this is what they both look like. Now the next thing we want to do, like I said earlier, my zipper is going to be at the back. Okay, so I'm going to join from my front sides to about away from the crotch point, the crotch joining right here. I'm just going to sew up about, let's say, 4 inches or thereabouts upwards. So I'm going to hold this point with my pin this way, the joining underneath. I'm going to go up to my front All right, so to the front pieces, remember we're joining with half of an inch. All right, so I'm just going to hold that. You see that matches up nicely. I'm going to hold that up with half of an inch to this point right here, which is under the crotch line. Okay, and then I'm going to sew up towards the back. All right, like about 5 inches, so they're about 4 inches. Okay, so we have enough space for our zip and then our sewing right there. Okay, I'm done with that. All right, and this is what I have. This is what my shorts is looking like. It's already coming out very nicely. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is to take the measurement of the hem right here of the trouser, the hem right here. So I'm just going to quickly do that. Okay, this is about 14 inches right here. So what we're going to do is you want to have 14 inches times 2. Okay, if you have less fabric, you can just add up maybe 14 inches plus about 12 more inches. That's probably what I'm going to do, because this first tier doesn't really have much folds. Okay, and you don't want to also have your trouser looking too bogus, so you want to work with as minimal as much as possible. So I'm just going to be making mine 14 inches plus about 10 inches. I'm going to make it about 24 inches round this way. I hope you understand. The hem of one leg is about 14 inches, sorry, 14 inches. I folded that, I measured that on fold, which makes it 28 inches. 28 inches. So I'm going to be adding about 10 more inches, which makes it 38 inches. So if I'm going to cut out a strip of fabric, I'm going to be making it 38 inches long, and then I'm going to gather it back to 28 inches. I hope we got that. All right. But first off, what we want to also take note before we start up is the length of our trouser. Okay, now the length of this trouser, we're going to be making use of about 41 inches. Okay, 41 inches or 42 inches if you're going to put on a heel, but I don't want it to be too long. All right, so I'm working with 41 inches. Now let's look at what we have here. The length of this is about 15 inches. Okay, we're going to just minus about half inch here. That's for our sewing joining allowance. So this makes it, what we have here for the pants now is about 14.5 inches. Now we have 14.5 inches, and then remember that our total length of our trouser is about 41 inches, and we're going to be making this trouser 3 tiers. Okay, so I'm going to have to divide whatever thing is left by 3. Now first off, we want to divide 43 inches divided by sorry, I want to minus 14.5 from 41 inches. I have 26.5 inches. That's 41.5 divided minus 41 minus 14.5 gives me 26.5. So I'm just going to round that up to 27 inches. All right. So I have 27 inches to play with. Now, obviously, as it says, I'm just going to divide it by 3, which gives me 9 inches for each tier. All right. So for my first tier, it's going to be 9 inches long. All right, 9 inches long plus half inch to join up and down, which makes it 10 inches long. So I'm going to cut 10 inches, 10 inches by length, and then by width I'm going to cut 38 inches for our first tier. So I'm just going to go about that right now, and then I'm going to cut out 2 strips for each legs on my fabric. Okay guys, I went off camera to cut this. Okay, now if you look closely, you can see 3 different lengths of 3 tiers. Now this is actually the smallest, which is the first, which is the next one after the pant, the short. This is the second one, which is the middle, and this will be for the last one, which will have the hem also. So I went ahead to cut it. These first 2 are 10 inches in length, while this last one is about 10.5 inches, 11 inches, about that in length. Now the reason why this is longer is because of the 1 inch hemming allowance which I added to it. We're going to use 1 inch to fold it over. Okay, now how did I get these 3 different lengths? Remember that I took a measurement of the hem of my short, and we measured out for 28 inches. Now we added about 10. Okay, I reduced the measurement. All right, instead it was actually 28 inches, but this right now is about 35 inches. Okay, now you can see that it's about 35 inches in length. Okay, this is on fold, that's the reason why we're looking. So this is 17 inches, it's about 35 inches, and then this, the second one, is about 40 inches in length also. Now you can see the difference. This is about 35, this is 40 inches, just 5 inches. If you look closely at the trouser, the pleats are very tiny, the gathers are very tiny. If you don't want it to have to be too full, to be too bogus, I don't really want this to be too bogus. Okay, but it should have that effect, that gypsy effect. Now the last one is about 50 inches, this is 25. Yes, this is about 50 inches in length. So if you look at it closely, it's about 5 inches in difference or so, I think so. So that's basically it. So I'm just going to be attaching this to the trouser, making very little gathers. Okay, but first off, I'm just going to sew up the sides. All right, sew up the sides and then add it on to the trouser. I'm going to do that for the 3 tiers, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So guys, if you watched till this time and this video was helpful, kindly give this video a thumbs up and also say something on the comment section. Say something about it. If you made yours, tell me what you feel about this video, about this tutorial. If it was helpful, kindly hit the subscribe button, share this video, like this video. I'm waiting to hear from you. Thank you so much for the love, guys. Thank you for standing by me and supporting this video, this channel. I want to say I really am very appreciative of you all. Thank you all for watching. Now I'm going to go ahead to my sewing machine, join this, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay darlings, I'm back, and this is what our trouser looks like. It is very beautiful, guys. This is what the last tier looks like. It's very bogus. Okay, this is actually 10 inches difference, while the second and the first and the second are about 5 inches difference. Okay, just as we measured, this is what it looks like. I can't wait to try this on. Yet it's looking so beautiful. So we're going to flip it over to the back side so that we can have to fix our zipper in. I haven't made my choice of what band to fix in here. How I wish this was live, we would have talked about or made choices of which of the bands to use, if I would make a band or make it bandless. I still don't know. So let's just go ahead to fix the zipper. So at this point, remember, we would be having excess, okay, at the waistline, okay, but this excess is going to be of help to us. This reason is because we'll be taking most of it at the waistline, but we're going to be having or making a triangular kind of sewing, just like what you see in men's pants. It helps to give more room to the butt area. Okay, I hope you understand what I'm saying. So I'm just trying to flip over to the back side of our fabric or of our pant trouser right here. All right. Yes. So now we have our zipper allowance right here. What we want to do right now is to take the measurement of this waistline. Okay, remember our waist that we're using is 34 inches. So we're going to take our waistline, which is 34 inches. We're going to mark from the center front right here to mark to 34 inches. Whatever point you get to 34 inches, you're going to take that as your zipper allowance, and then you're going to go ahead to sew your zipper there. Now look at this, how it works. I'll take that again. Okay, our waist is 34 inches, so I'm just going to go ahead to take my measurement from this center front right here. So this is it. So 34 divided by 2 is 17. So we're going to mark 17 right here. Alright, I just marked my 17 in mark right here. So this is how it works. Alright, this technique helps to give your butt area more space. It gives it room to sit in. All right, this is where our 17 inches mark is. And remember that we sewed ½ inch from the front to about 4 inches into the back. All right, so what you're going to, this is the way we're going to sew. Since I may not be able to take it to the sewing machine, let me just use my chalk to show you how we're going to sew this on. Now take a look at that. This is how our zipper is going to lay on our fabric. It's going to be this way. From this here we have about 1½ inches. Good, that's exactly about 1½ inches. Remember, we added 2 inches. But definitely once you go up that way with that slant which we gave at the back, you will definitely have more excess. So that we used into the darts intake also. So that's the reason why we have all this. So this will help to give more room for the butt to sit in right here. So basically this is where we're going to be sewing our zipper to. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead to fix in my waistband, and that will be all for this tutorial, guys. So I'll just do this, fixing the zipper, fixing my waistband, and then I'll show you what the final look, guys. So it's until I see you in my next video. Bye.